projected span, which again in this case notice that they're linked. We have the chord of the wing, and then we have the wing area. And again, notice when I change one slider, some of the other sliders change as well. That is because the area is a function of the span of the chord. So when you change one, you automatically change the other. Now when you go to the section properties, you'll notice here that there are various sections, and you come over here and look at the various section IDs. Notice how they become highlighted as part of this. So for example, let's say, well, okay, we want to make a nice simple rectangular wing. So let's go over here to section 0 first. That's the one closest to the root, and notice since it is symmetric, all we have to worry about is changing one side, one section. In this case, what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and say, well, I want to be able to modify some of these pieces. First, let's take out the sweep. So we have no sweep on this particular section. And what we'll do is we'll make our root chord and the tip chord the same. So we have TC and RC here. And it's important to note that when you change these, it also links up. So we change the tip chord on this inboard section. It also changed the root chord on the outboard section. So again, these parameters are linked to one another. We're going to make a rectangular wing here for something like a Cessna. Okay? So in this case, so now we have our inboard section, nice square geometry there. And again, we can change how we modify these plan forms by looking at various pieces on this. We'll come back and look at that later. Let's go to the other section. So in this case, we have the outboard section. Again, we're going to come in here and say, well, we want to make this rectangular. We'll take the sweep away. So there's no sweep. And you notice since we have now a varied tip chord and root chord, there is going to be a trailing edge sweep in this case. And again, you can change where that sweep is located at. In this case, we're just going to leave it and not worry about that. Make it rectangular. We're going to take our tip chord, make that a little bit larger here, and now we have a rectangular wing. Okay, very simple wing geometry. Go over here and change the view, and notice it does have some dihedral in here as part of this as well. So we go to the next tab and say, okay, I want to change my dihedral. So here's my dihedral 1 for the inboard section, and 0. Here's my dihedral 2 for the outboard section. Coming in, we can change that. And you notice the sliders are kind of preset based upon the geometry, depending upon what range you're looking at. I'm going to make that 0. We just come in here and enter the point, and there's our 0. A view, look at this from the top section. Okay. Again, we're going to come back over here and say, well, we need to change the span. We need to make this larger. So notice how we have different options that are linked. So in the case of span, TC, and RC, we have the options to change these sections. Okay, but we don't have options to go through and change the other pieces as well, area, taper ratio, or aspect ratio. So we can come in here and choose one of these other, again, set of linked parameters. So in this case, let's do the aspect ratio, taper ratio, and span. So I come in here and change the aspect ratio. Again, note I'm just working on that section 0 right now, so it's not changing the other sections. Change that taper ratio. Again, we'll keep our taper ratio at 1 here, and I can also come in and change the span and make that shorter if I need to. Okay. Now we'll go to the out section. Again, we'll set that up. So do aspect ratio, taper ratio, and span. We'll give ourselves a little bit of taper here on this section. And there's our basic wing. Now again, what we can do then is we come in and start adding different components. Add a fuselage. We're going to go to fuselage 2. There's our basic fuselage section. So the first thing we're going to do is say, oh, that's not lined up correctly where we want it to be at. So we can come in and let's look at it from the front. Coming at the X-Form tab. Say, well, we need to change the Z location and view it from the top, and then we're going to change the X location. Okay. Again, center it up, and there's our basic fuselage geometry. Now, what you can do with the geometry is you have lots of options of coming in and looking at various sections. So you can come in and look at these different pieces. and change these and say, well, what I want to do here, I want to have a box-shaped fuselage in this section, rounded. Notice how it does all the fairing for you in each one of these sections. You could add another platform in here, another piece in that, and say, oh, we don't want to point there. We're going to also have a box at that particular section, and be able to change, the height and width of that box to provide you a really ugly looking fuselage in this case. Again, the point here is that you can modify this as much as you want to do whatever you need. Now, different components then, once you get the basic geometry here, again, all it does is takes time to go through and do the actual refinement. So in this case, let's go back to the wing section here, and we'll come in and you can add different sections on the wing. So now we have 3 sections, so I can change this outboard section here, give it a very small, not the overall span, I'm going to change the section span in this case for this piece. So we want to be able to change that and then keep that span. Do this from the top here. So for this particular section, and only worry about that particular span. Okay, so change that span on that section. We can add another wing in here for the tail. We can also add different pieces such as a propeller. Add a prop on here. Do this from, first go to here, move it up to the front. Okay, and say, oh, how many blades do we have? What's our diameter on our prop? Let's make it a 3-bladed propeller. Okay, come in here and view it from the front, and there's our propeller. Right, obviously not in the right location, but we'll offset it there to give you an idea of what that looks like. Now, again, the power of this is you can very quickly go through and add these components and change their geometry and make them look like whatever you want to. Now, what is helpful here is you can also add a background, so you can put an image in here as part of this and insert an image, so that way you can put a 3-view planform. And so if you want to model a aircraft from a predetermined planform, you can do that. Okay, and do that relatively quickly. So again, now what you can do is be able to come in, you get a window, background, you have a JPEG image, pull that up, insert that, and you can use this essentially to model your image. So what you'll note, this just serves as a background, so you have to essentially adjust your view. Best thing to do is to have the aircraft, set up left or right, so that way you have that image already set in, and then you can adjust the scale of your view that you have with the aircraft to zoom in and out, and then from that match up the geometry of what you have on the aircraft. Again, the intention of this first lesson is not to exactly generate the geometry, it's to get familiar with the tool. So if it's not perfect, that's okay. That's not the point of the actual lesson. Okay. Now all you have to do then is, once you have this and go through the process of modifying your basic geometry, it's just a matter of a few simple steps.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are experiencing technical difficulties. Please stand by. We will return to our regularly scheduled program momentarily. Please stay tuned.
And then what we have is our final model. Okay, and you can see that process of developing that from that basic geometry was relatively simple and straightforward. And at this case, you can go through, and view this in different aspects. Take a look at your model, and there we go. Okay, so that's the basic setup of VSP. Again, I encourage you to namely play around with it. It's not a difficult program to learn, so the more time you spend working with it, the better that you're going to get at it.